First, I will share one video of JK. Then Harshad sir will comment on it.
Now, how do I understand myself? This is part of meditation, you understand, sir? I understand myself through my relationship to the environment, to my wife, to my father, and all that. In my relationship, I see my reactions. Right, so following it. Is that all right so far? Do you approve? Because without relationship, I don't exist. I cannot exist. I may withdraw into a monastery, but it's still I'm related. Related to the past, related to a concept of what Jesus and so on. So I'm always related, right? In that relationship, which is a mirror, I see myself as I am. Not as I should be, but actually what I am.
In terms of reactions?
All my reactions. So that requires an extraordinary watchfulness, right? I wonder if you can do all this. So, in relationship is the mirror in which I see myself as I am, which is far more important than what I should be. Because what I am can be transformed. Not transformed. That word transform means moving from one form to another form. But bring about a mutation, I'll use that word. So that is the mirror. So I'm watching the mirror in my relationship. The mirror is my relationship. So I see that I'm creating an image about people all the time, right? I've created an image about my wife. I've lived with her for 40, 20, 10 days. I've already created an image about her. And she has already created an image about me, right? So this is facts. So our relationship is between these two images. Right? Right? God, you. Are you nervous if I say all this?
No.
Your wife here too?
If one measures oneself against the mirror of society,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I may not have put that quite the way you would have done, but the focus of my question is what happens to one's self-image if one changes the society?
Now just a minute. Who created the society? We created the society. We are aggressive, we are violent, we are greedy. Our society is ourselves. Society is not different from me.
Well, if we move...
I'm not a communist.
If we move from one society to another...
It's the same. It's like I'm a Catholic and I become a Buddhist. It is the same movement. I've changed the name, but in Buddhism is much more intellectual, much more subtle, much more etc., than Christianity. So, moving from one religion or one state to another is the same. I'm questioning, please, I am saying religion, to understand oneself, one has to see what our relationship is, what one's relationship is to nature, the trees, the birds, the world of nature, the reality of nature, the beauty, the depth and the glory of nature. And also the society. I am related to society. And I say I am different from society. I say we are not. We have created this society. Right? That's a fact, isn't it? Let me finish this. One moment, just a minute, please. We have created this society. Thought has created this society. The culture of a particular society. We are the result of all that. It's our action that has created this society. We are greedy, we are aggressive, we are violent, we are possessive, uncertain, wanting security, physical as well as psychological. So we have this society, which is corrupt as we are corrupt. Sorry, you may all not be. So it's our product. So unless I, part of this society, change radically, psychologically, there will be no change in society. That's a fact. The communists, if they use that word, may I? I used to have a lot of communist friends at one time. Card-carrying communists. Not easy chair communists. They are real communists. And we would discuss a great deal in Paris and the places. And they would go up to a certain point and they decide, we won't go, Marx is the limit. You understand? Like the fundamentalists in this country, the Bible is the limit. We can't discuss it. Finish. So, we are discussing meditation. And in that meditation, what is creativity? That's the question. Now, in relationship, I see myself as I am. And also I see any movement to change what I am. Please understand this little bit complex, don't mind. Any movement to change what I am is still in the same pattern. Right? This is, I am, all right, let me put it differently. Who is it that is to change it? Right? I am greedy. Suppose I am greedy. How, in what manner do I change it? To change means to something else. Right? What is, right?
So wanting to not be greedy is another form
No,
of greed?
yes sir, that is it. Not wanting to be greedy is another form of greed, of course. So, how does that fact change? I discover in my relationship how greedy I am, how possessive I am, sexually, all the rest of it, the attachment. With all its complexity of attachment, fear, jealousy, anxiety, hate. Right in that word, all this is contained. Am I going all right, sirs? You're following all we are together in this, or we're just talking to myself?
Harsha sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Kamleshji. Thank you, friends. Good evening. Today's topic is about how do I understand myself. So the first question which can arise is that why do I want to change myself? Why do I want to understand myself? Because I feel that if we don't understand ourselves, we can make our life very unhappy and lot of conflict within ourselves and with other people. So if we understand ourselves, then we may be able to change many things, undesirable things like habits or anger or fear. So as long as we do not understand ourselves, there will be many problems in our life. So, of course, there is a deeper question also, but that maybe we will take later on, is that what is this I? That is the most fundamental question, but we will take it later. So, how do we understand ourselves? And we can understand ourselves by in relationship, because we have family, we have friends, society, place where we work. In that relationship, a lot is happening within us, like somebody saying something unpleasant to us, and that bothers us very much. Sometimes we get very angry, and that is what is happening in the society, that people are getting carried away by their emotions, and then they do something very, very drastic, and later on they regret their action. So if we understand ourselves, we do not damage our own body and mind, and we do not create problems for other people too. So that is why even Socrates said, know thyself, understand yourself. So as long as we don't understand ourselves, we cannot even do anything, we cannot change other people. But when we are very clear, when we understand, when we become free from many problems which we create for ourselves, then we may be able to help other people also. So Krishnaji is always talking about the individual. He is not talking about social and political change, because as he said, you are the society, you are the world, and when you change, the world changes to that extent. So that is why we have to understand ourselves, and we understand in relationship. And relationship is like the mirror. And this is what also expressed in one Hindi song, which says, Tora man darpan kehlaye, your mind is like a mirror. And that mirror is showing you everything, what is happening within, within yourself, what is happening outside. It is seeing everything. And it says that the quality of your mind, the quality of your happiness depends on the quality of your mind. So if your mind is not in a good condition, there will be many unhappiness. And when there is real understanding, when there is a kind of uh, a light within the mind, then the whole world looks very bright and beautiful. So only when our mind is very clear, not chattering so much, because generally we get into a habit of talking within, even when it is not necessary, our mind goes in a habitual way. But when we become curious to watch our own mind, then some something happens. And for initially, many people are not able to be alone, and then they cannot direct their attention inward, because it requires some kind of freedom to be alone, to be quiet, and to turn the attention inward, to look at how these thoughts which are they are going on. And so if a person is able to do that initially, being alone in a good environment, very peaceful environment like study center, and then looking at nature and listening to the sound which are going on, and then looking inward, looking at the thoughts, then there's a possibility that the mind really stops. And at that time, some people get frightened of that state. But if a person is not afraid and keeps on watching, then that kind of silence is a real meditation. And then it begins to change our body, our brain, and we begin to see not only our own mind, our thoughts very clearly, but we can also see the trees and the clouds and the human beings, the colors, everything then begin to look very, very beautiful, very fresh, very new. So the real idea behind understanding ourselves is to have clarity and to have real peace, very love, beauty, freedom, happiness. All this happens when we are able to see clearly our own mind. Initially, it may require a lot of effort, some time is necessary, but when this inward looking is helping you, then you like to do it more. And then slowly it may become your nature to really look. And so even when somebody insults you, you don't get very angry very quickly. You listen and then you ask the question, why are you saying this? So that is a real intelligence. And in our school and college, we are not taught how to look inward, because we are always taught about the universe, about the matter, about the history, about geography, about the universe. Everything is outside. We gather a lot of knowledge of the outside world, but only when we become very curious to look inward, then the real learning happens. And then all that learning about the outside world, it doesn't become a burden. Otherwise, without self understanding of our own mind, that knowledge of the outside world can become a big burden, and then it interferes in everything which we do. And so we are not able to live a very happy, fresh, new life every day. So um, we can understand ourselves in relationship, because if we go to somewhere far away where there are no human beings, even then maybe our mind can go on chattering. Even people can go to Himalayas. What is this past memories which are stored? It will come even when there is no necessity. So only even in Himalayas, people need to look at their own mind, whatever is happening. And then when the mind stops, then one can even see the beginning of a thought. And when it is seen at its root, the thinking stops. And so there's the whole world is inside us. There's the outside universe, there's the inside universe of all that past memories stored since our birth. And maybe some people say even the memories of the past lives are stored in the unconscious. And some people, they are able to get those memories of the past life, but we are not interested in past life or future life. We are interested in looking at what is happening now, every day, every moment. And so this meditation, which Krishnaji calls, is nothing but looking very, very clearly at our own mind. Let me see if I have anything. And as Krishnaji says, life is relationship. To we cannot exist without relationship. And so there is a lot of possibility of learning about, and I myself began to learn only after reading Krishnamurti, because before that, so many thoughts were going on in my mind, and I was not really able to look at the beauty which was around me on the campus of Iowa State University. But only when I became curious and began to observe myself, when there is something new started happening, then I could see how beautiful our campus was. Even to look at the expression on the faces of people is very, very interesting. And our mind is continuously changing every moment. And it is like a soap bubble with a changing colors. So if we children, they like making soap bubble, and there are colors spreading continuously, changing colors. Our mind is like that, and when we get interested in learning about our own mind, then we don't need any entertainment also, because we learn so much in a direct way, not by reading books of Krishnamurti, but by looking at our own mind. And then we can say, yes, what Krishnamurti says is quite simple, is very obvious what Krishnaji is saying. So only when we begin to understand ourselves as we are in the present moment, then real life begins. And then we don't need to read anything. We can read the book of our own life. We can write about it. We can make a diary And in that way also, Krishnaji sometimes was suggesting that you should write down every day what thoughts are going on. If something happened during the day which disturbed you, you can write it down, so that if you are not able to see it at the moment, maybe on the same day at night before you go to sleep, you can recollect everything. So there are many, many ways of learning about ourselves. And Krishnaji, what he says is very beautiful, is by looking at our inner world. And in the beginning, I said that what is this I which wants to understand? And that is the most fundamental question. Who am I? And Krishnaji says that even this I who wants to understand, that I itself is the product of thinking. And thought creates the thinker, like me, and then me wants to change thought. So there's a duality. So one has to go right at the source of what is this I, who am I. As long as a person has not gone ask that fundamental question, then there will be many, many more questions. But when the beauty of who am I is seen clearly, when the mind becomes silent, then there are no more questions about anything. How do I do that or this? Even if a question arises, the question can be seen. And if an answer comes from within, the answer can be seen, but everything is moving moment by moment. So finally, we have to come in direct touch with ourselves. And initially, yes, we need to be alone and give attention, but later on, even in relationship, while we are working, we can see what is happening within us. So um, this is a very beautiful, the most important topic is what is this I and understanding ourselves. Okay, I've said enough thing right now. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else wants to say something? Prasad sir, Pradeep sir.
One thing I want to say a little bit more before somebody says that Krishnaji says that if you want to go very far, you have to start from what is near. And that near is your own self. And for that, we don't need any instrument. To look at the stars and the planets, we need a telescope. But to look at our own self, all we need is a space within us to look, have a quiet place, good environment in the beginning. And then when we understand ourselves, other things also we can, of course, it becomes more interesting to understand the world also. But without understanding ourselves, if we just pile up the knowledge just because a job requires, then life becomes very mechanical, very boring, get tired at the end of the day. And this happens even to teachers of Rishi Valley School or Krishnamurti School because they are very busy during the day. And if the mind is not looking in relationship inward, then get very tired at the end of the day, and then you go to sleep, and then in the sleep also many unconsciously many things happening, and so one needs to find a time, uh, maybe in the morning or evening, 1 hour to sit quietly and just observing oneself, and not trying to escape by watching TV or reading books or talking on telephone and all that. Uh, it's very important to be alone and look inward. Okay, thank you.
Pradeep sir. Pradeep,
Yes, I think it's audible. I find nobody coming up, so who will bell the cat? You see, ultimately, I I find a lot of time and space around. Of course, this topic, you know yourself, the message, you know yourself in relationship. It hardly requires any debate. You see, even interactions. It's so clear, provided you want to understand yourself. If you really want to understand yourself, then everything you have heard, everything you have read is perfectly in its place. But usually we spend timing understanding so-called others more than ourselves. We keep ourselves in our comfort zone. We keep ourselves as such, escaping either as a judge. So we usually give opinion about so-called others. We give much more time to celebrities talking about understanding Krishnamurti, understanding Nisargadatta, understanding all these celebrities, but not the self. Is it my question, or I have borrowed this question from somewhere? You see, is it my question that I really want to know about myself moment to moment? Am I? If this is the quest, if this is the inquiry, no problem. Even what he's saying, you will say. Then it is no one's statement, no one's teaching. If you want to understand yourself from moment to moment in your daily life, it is not at all difficult. Then you know yourself in relationship, wonderful. Now, two types usually I find in our lives. Our relation with material or marketable stuff or solid stuff around it. That depends on your resources and your whether you really deserve it or you have got it. You have also borrowed it from somewhere, from your neighbor. So that is one type of relationship. Another relationship with the human beings, with the friends, with the family members, with my neighbors, all those people who are just like me, who are like me or me only. So that type of relationship is different. So the main thing is, do I really want to understand myself? Myself as what? As what JK has said, you are the world. That's why from that I start understanding myself. I don't think if you start with something like this, some saying, then it is very difficult to understand. By nature, if you want to understand, then the very act you are involved in gives you there itself, what are you doing? What are you doing? So this comes naturally to us, but we have become unnatural. We have become knowledgeable. You see, we have read so much that all those things have become more important than myself. In a way, myself, yes, also, and myself, no, also. So these are things. the distance between myself and the so-called other, whether thing or person, whether that distance I maintain myself as such and see it as distant from the observer, and the observed distance is there. Naturally, based on some sort of variation, this happens. Am I having a relationship which is utilitarian? Am I maintaining relations only how useful this man can be, how useful this man is for me, and for how long? So if that view is there, then naturally conflicts will be there. There is no discussion is required for that. So the observer, the best, if you are in communion with anything, so-called living, non-living, whatever it is, if you become one with that, you know fully about yourself. You know fully about yourself, and this happens daily, is possible. So we have to be very honest because we are not here to give opinion about others. What he has said, what he did, what he that, all it doesn't matter at all, not at all. But if you understand yourself in our daily life, daily means everything around is from the society, as he was talking, JK has talked about it, that you are the society. So you don't have to go anywhere to find what society is or where is my position in that. Everything is so very clear. So it doesn't need any debate, probably, to me. But since time was available, and it is so easy to realize this fact in your daily life, that in our relationship, we get absolutely clear picture about myself. I get it. No qualms, no squibble, nothing, no problems, no blamings. It's that easy. So this is all, it's a profound statement, very profound. Even those people he was discussing with, but asking similar questions about social reforms and how I can be useful to change the people, change myself, and all that. These have been dealt in our so discussions. So I need not take more time. Dinesh is also waiting for his views about it. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you so much.
Prasad sir. Prasad sir.
Namaste, sir.
Yes, sir.
After the exhaustive exhaustive description by Harshad ji, then really nothing left to say. We are all interested in understanding others. As Pradeep ji has said, we are interested in understanding others, outside world. The entire science is based upon trying to understand the world outside. And similarly, in our dealings also, we try to understand the other man. But we don't realize that most of our decisions are based upon our background, upon our prejudices, etc. Even a judge in a court of law, when he gives a judgment, he is hardly aware that he is influenced by his tradition, by his prejudices, his background, etc. Only very few people, I think, among judges, they realize that and they try to come out of that background, possibly. And then how do you understand yourself? If you try to understand yourself, as Harshadji has said, it is only through your relationships. Your relationships are the mirror in which you can see yourself. Your firstly, your relationship with your property. How strongly are you attached to your property? How readily you are trying to increase your property? All these things, they come out only when you try to understand yourself. And then your relationship with your children, how strongly you are attached to them, which you don't realize is not love. Attachment is not love. That is what Krishnaji has been saying. With your neighbors, everywhere, with everybody, with your bosses, with your subordinates, etc. And then he has in this video itself, he has said, your relationship with nature, he has said it. But in this video, he has not, nature, of course, we understand nature and everything. But there is one more thing which he has not said in this video, but he has said elsewhere. That is your relationship with the ideas. How you are strongly attached to some ideas. The idea of God. You are so thoroughly attached to that idea, God. And God is, he has said, is an invention. Because of your search for security, you want security in life. So, you have created the idea of God. And then having created God, you worship it. Which he says is only your own worship. You are worshipping yourself. Actually, I was seeing some video by Spinoza. Spinoza says the personal God is an illusion. That is what I understand of Spinoza. There is no personal God. It is an illusion. But then he says the entire universe with the stars, galaxies and all that, and the subatomic particles, all these things are the world or the universe, and that itself is God. There is no other God. And I was wondering, maybe Harshadji would clarify a bit. I was wondering whether Spinoza's idea and Krishnaji's idea are the same or at least similar. And one more thing, Einstein said his God is Spinoza's God. Einstein with his relativity and all those things. Maybe Pradeepji has some science background and he can talk something on that. So, your relationships, that is the, you try to understand yourself. Then you will understand that half of the problems are created by you in your daily life, whether it is in business or in bureaucracy or elsewhere. You create those problems. because of your own background, prejudices, your insecurity, your search for security, your attachments, and all these things. So, normally, religion focuses outside, create an idol, and then try to worship that idol through some ritual and all that. There is no inward focus. The searchlight is not focused inward. That is the idea of this video. That is, try to understand yourself. And I think so. Krishnaji has said, Socrates also said, know thyself. So when you know yourself, then most of the problems are solved. And in these days, marriages are failing. You perform a marriage by spending 1 crore of rupees or 2 crores. And within 1 year, the marriage gets dissolved. That is because possibly there is no understanding on the part of either party. You have no understanding of yourself, and so you are driven by your ambition, and the other party, the partner, is driven by her or his ambition, and and each party is unyielding. And so very quickly, the marriage gets dissolved. That is what is happening. And I hope Harshadji would excuse me if I say, those who have not married are lucky. So, sir, I think that's all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dinesh ji.
Are you able to hear my voice, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Today, actually, I am having some problem in speaking because there is a boil in my mouth. So, pardon me for speaking slow. So, let me start. JK says, you can understand yourself in a relationship only by the reaction in moments to moment, in moment to moment. This is the greatest contribution given by JK as per me, because nowhere it is so clearly mentioned that this point has nowhere clearly mentioned in tradition as well as any other place, and even in Buddha Dharma or Jain Dharma or any other. Now there are some points need to be discussed. First, according to me, I'm taking reference of this dialogue only. Okay, so I will directly speak now. According to me, I am individual also and society also. Means conditioned by society also, and taken conditioning as per my instinct or psychological traits and parameters, etc. And accordingly, my character is formed. So we will see that Putin is different, Hitler is different, or anybody else in past. Ravan is different, but and his attitude towards the life and his actions are different. Whereas there are some other persons whose attitude, like Krishna or say anybody, such persons, saints, are different, and their actions are also accordingly. So society is basically a mix-up thing. Society is not neither, he said, corrupt. It is corrupt also, and there are some persons who are good also. And that by this, that Gita's shlok comes up, yada yada hi dharmasya and all that. When we get reactions or understand reactions, then the issue is we can remain with feelings like hurt, attain greed, etc. Means for transformation or change, I will use the word transformation first or change, and then I will go to mutation. So for this, we can remain with such feelings like hurt or greed, etc. Because they remain for some time. They remain for a longer time, rather. They remain for a longer time. So I can go in isolation, I can do the meditation on that. I can remain with them, and I will give a fresh energy to them. And what happens, I can observe. But with emotions like anger, etc., they come for a very short time and go and become dormant. So here is the issue. How do we tackle such things? For this, extra fresh energy is required. For this, unless my state of being changes to some extent, these issues cannot be tackled. In state of being change, there can be change of my attitude by understanding the whole structure of the thing and other things. Means whatever Krishnamurti has addressed other places or said, that you have to understand the whole structure of that thing. Then only you can have that change available to you. Next point is image, which he has mentioned in this clip. Actually, image forming is also a natural thing or natural process. Without image, you cannot recognize anybody. If I don't have the image of Harshad Parekh, past, technical as well as the emotional or feeling, I cannot recognize him. So image forming is also a natural thing. Without image, you cannot recognize anybody. So the main question is how to remain free despite of image. The question is how to remain free of the image. For this, we have to understand the whole structure of relationship. Starting from why relationship is required at the first place, and then all elements, intricacies, subtleties, and issues like give and take, etc. Possessions, attachments, etc. Then only there can be a change available in this for us. Next point now he has raised or mentioned is mutation. Mutation, we know it is an instant change, and for instant change in science as well as in psychological aspects requires tremendous fresh energy of a particular type. Suppose in science, when we talk of mutation, then a particular energy, a type of energy or environment is exposed to some biological insects or something, which forces them to change their DNA or whatever it is. Right? Similarly, a fresh energy of silence or quietness or whatever Harshad sir has mentioned is required, and for that, this means a person should have earnestness, passion, attention along with the choiceless awareness, and persistence or priority given to this issue, or have leisure time or time given to self in isolation, etc. So he has to remain with this if tremendous fresh energy is required. Now, if a person is having other priorities or liabilities or other issues, then it is difficult to have energy of freedom for mutation. These are my views. Whatever I have mentioned about mutation, I think Vermaji has worked on this mutation subject, so he will be in a he can throw more light on this. But these are my views. Thank you. Then we'll see.
Prasad sir,
Yeah. Okay. In this video which we saw, there is one sentence by Krishnaji that the movement to change is in the same pattern. That means the me who wants to change, I am angry, don't want to become angry. What is that I which doesn't want to become angry? And Krishnaji says that I is also a product of thinking. And this can be seen only when a person is free from thinking. Then only can see that the entity which is trying to change is not different. So that is the very subtle point in philosophy, Krishnaji teachings, or even in Vedanta or Upanishad or Buddhism, that what is this I which wants to change? So as long as that question has not become very vital, then all other questions will lead to answers and more questions. So something is in that video that you can't really consciously try to change yourself, but you can watch whatever, and even to watch what is anger or whatever fear, it again kind of requires freedom from that problems to watch clearly. So I think that is why this area of understanding ourselves or to be free from many problems is most difficult. Even psychologists who study a lot psychology, they are not free from the psychological problems, because I know that one professor of psychology and his wife, she was also a professor in some other department, and they both were fighting about a very minor problem, and I talked with them, I listened to them, and the problem is that me, my rights against your right, and the professor drinking tea or coffee and leaving the cup on the table, and the wife arguing, why should I take your cup to wash, and like that, and then they spend 1 hour arguing with each other because they are very articulate people, but they don't see that they are creating more problems. All they have to do is one of them, they take the cup, wash it. It takes only 1 minute, 2 minutes. But I think we go in a very complicated way, trying to change other people and thinking that my view is the correct view and your view is the wrong, and the other person also thinks in the same way. So there's a conflict. And when there's a conflict within oneself, it expresses with other human beings also. So even by reading books on psychology, one will not be free. Even scientists have problems like ambition to get an award. They work very hard. They don't look after their family. And then they sometimes get divorced and like that. So as long as we don't get very curious to look at our own mind in a direct way, not by maybe little bit reading may be required. I don't think we can keep on reading books after books of Krishnamurti and we will become wiser. It's not like that. Only one book, maybe commentaries on living, and reading one chapter a day, and then sitting quietly, and then also relating it to our daily life relationship. As long as we don't do practical work, theory doesn't help. No matter how much knowledge we gather of Kabir or Astavakra or Krishnamurti, it doesn't help. Only when we become curious to look in a direct way at our own mind. So that is the difficulty about the Prasadji talked about God, and religion says that God created man, and psychology says man created God. So there is a direct opposition between religious people and psychologists. But Vedanta, Upanishad, it says you are God. Actually, there is a potential in you to become perfect like God, And that is what the real challenge is, whether, and one mystic also said, you can't see God, but you can be God. And they call these people who are free, they call them Bhagwan or whatever, God man. But the potential exists within us to be free from many problems which we create. And then that word is not important, God or whatever word we use, a non-verbal way of learning happens. And that is much more interesting than understanding through words. So that is the real journey, a non-verbal way of looking at a tree or a human being or at our own thinking. So let me see anything else. Yes, okay, I have finished.
Can I say something here, if allowed?
Yes. Yes, you can say, Dinesh.
Pardon?
You can say what you want to say. Then Prasad sir
Please
also
go,
has to say
please
something.
go on,
Please,
Waghmare, please go on.
Continue.
Please go on.
Number one, if we go into go deep into this question of mutation, we find that there is a duality and there is a non-duality. We see from ourselves also, any challenge has been given to us, we first try to modify or change it or tackle it. If we cannot in a position to tackle it, then we go somewhere else or we avoid it, or whatever best we can do with our resources, we do it. Let's take the case of coronavirus. If we see, coronavirus has also changed its shape or this thing, but not core. Scientists have said that it has modified itself, but there is no mutation. So mutation takes place only when there is a tremendous threat or tremendous challenge has been given to the virus or whatever bacteria or whatever it is. Similarly, in our case also, unless there is a tremendous pressure or tremendous curiosity or tremendous ardent desire, there is no question of this mutation. First, we have to give a proper time to it, and then we will try for the mutation, or should go. I will always be there for trying. I has to first understand, and then he has to try for it. He has to also understand the motivation. What is the motivation, structure of motivation? So what I mean to say, starting will always be, as Harshad sir said, from where you are, or JK said, where you are. So you are in duality. and you want to go beyond duality. So always these steps will be there. Now, whether one requires no time for it or whether he requires some time for it and then go, it depends on his individuality. That's what I think. Another thing, Prasad sir has asked some questions. My own experience is, I was also having affiliation towards the things which suits to me. I will read books only which suits to me. I will not go to the go for the books which don't suit to me, or they are just opposite to my way of thinking or my interest or my inclinations. So unless for understanding the whole structure in the duality where there are polar opposites are also existing, one has to read other views also or go through the other books also. Then something can happen, because then only he will understand the whole structure of the thing. If he stick to only his interest, or he says that 2-3 persons that this says that this is what the reality is, and man has created God, then there is a problem. We know that Einstein has also said clearly that how this order has been maintained. If I observe that, then I start believing that there is a God. These are the Einstein statements. And even whatever there are polar opposites or there are contradictory theories of Einstein's theory also. Recently, whatever theories has come up in physics, we see that they are exactly opposite, or they are not matching with the Einstein's theory of relativity 1 and 2. So we have to see in detail why such things are taking place, and then only we can understand that who is maintaining this order. Basically, something is there which is maintaining. Now, when the common man or common persons don't understand this, they make some image, or they create some image and they make some this thing to so that he can understand. So Gyanmarg, this whatever we have discussed or we are discussing is Gyanmarg basically, and there is a Shambhavi Upay also. Shambhavi means beyond Gyanmarg. So that we are discussing, and that is only for the few people, not for all the people. So other persons which are having their own difficulties and this thing, to get this thing, they cannot opt for this. Unless the person is highly intellectual, or either his attitude is also very open, he cannot go for this. So these are the things which are also to be considered. Thank you.
Prasad sir, you are raising hand continuously. Prasad sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Harshadji has referred to transformation in the video. Yes, Krishnaji has first said, used the word transformation, and then withdrew that, saying transformation means from this form to another form. And this form is product of your thought, and the other form also is a product of your thought. So he said, it is not transformation, but a mutation. So he preferred to use the word mutation. That is, of course, I mean, we can understand that. That is, what is there, and what should be is also your desire. That is what you are aiming at. So, what should be is a product of your thought. So, he wants you to go beyond the thought and see if there is anything beyond the thought. That is how I understand. Then Harshadji has also referred to this question, what is, I want to understand myself. What is that I? Yes, everybody has, a lot of people have raised that question. What is this I? So, Ramana Maharshi has raised that question. Who are you? What am I? So, it is not your body. Remove that. It is not your thoughts. Thought is a material process and product of your background. So, remove that. What is beyond that? We don't know. People like Krishnaji or Raman may know, but we don't know. At least I don't know. Then, this question, Krishnaji has said there is a theory of reincarnation. And there is also a theory of resurrection. Krishnaji has said resurrection is only a kind of story. Nobody has seen anybody rising. There were no cameras at that time, he said, and no 10 people have witnessed it. So that is a kind of story only. And then for reincarnation, what will reincarnate? That is the question he raised. What are you? You are a bundle of thoughts. Good thoughts, bad thoughts, indifferent thoughts, all sorts of thoughts are there. So this bundle, how will it reincarnate? This bundle ends with death. Then how will it kind of reincarnate? He has also given the story of somebody. Somebody comes to him and asks him, I loved my wife, but my wife passed away. Can you get her in contact with me now? Seance or some such thing, you know. Krishnaji said, don't be infantile. Which wife should I show you? The one you married, the one who gave birth to your children, the one who nagged you, the one who fought with you, the one who became old. Which wife should I give you in contact? So that is the problem. So reincarnation is also a very problematic theory. So what are we left with? Buddhists, they don't believe in God, it appears, but our soul. Our tradition believes in soul. But Krishnaji has said there is no evidence of soul. There is evidence of only thoughts, not of soul. So what will reincarnate? So what are we left with? For our normal daily living, what all is required is to know the limitations of our thought, the binding nature of our thought, our background, our prejudices, our attachments. These things we can understand. And we can be happy by being aware of these things and by being free of these things. So for normal daily living, what he has suggested, that is know yourself, is good enough. But when we get into further theories, which are academic actually, which have no importance for our daily living, there are a lot of controversies, and we need not break our heads over those theories. That is how I feel about it. What we require is our relationship with nature, with our neighbors, etc., which can become good by following the advice of K. That's how I look at it. Thank you, sir.
Shakti. Shakti, sir.
Yes, sir. Krishna ji has talked about watching thought, and in fact, thought being aware of itself. Also, he has pointed out to stay with what is. And I feel staying with what is implies not running away from what is. So, chattering is also running away from oneself. So this is also one pointer by Krishnamurti to stay with what is. Thank you, sir.
Harshad sir,
Yeah.
please conclude.
About-
Please
yeah.
conclude.
Yes, about this mutation, Krishna ji used the word mutation of the brain cells. That means when tremendous energy goes to the brain gets a different quality. And with that different quality, a different quality of life comes into existence. And that is why Krishna ji was feeling in his own brain tremendous movement, throbbings going on. And after I started reading Krishnamurti 45 years ago, my brain also has been going. I can feel just like we feel the heartbeats. Similarly, this blood pouring into the brain can also be felt. And probably that could be, I have no idea. I asked Krishna ji about this. What is this throbbing going on in the brain? He did not answer. So only that probably the quality of the brain changes when there is energy. And our tradition talks about that Kundalini energy, which goes from the base of the spine. When it is activated, it goes directly to the brain and begins to transform the brain. So that idea is also in tradition. Krishnaji talked about mutation of the brain cells. So that is, Krishnaji wanted a new kind of brain to come into existence, not the intellectual brain, because he felt that people are becoming more and more intellectual when they study Krishnamurti. They have lots of questions and keep on talking for many, many years. But there is no freedom. And one professor also said to Krishnaji that after studying his teachings for 30 years, he had not really changed fundamentally in his brain or in his life, So I don't know that we cannot try to do that mutation. It is not in our hand. It is not in our willpower, but some unknown phenomena. Take sometimes like Raman Maharshi, without any effort, something happened to him and it changed him. So it is a mystery. And God is a mystery too, because even Buddha never answered any question about Buddha or creation, because all that happened long time ago when there was no life on earth. So it is not important to go into the question of creation or God, but living now, every day, and looking inward and seeing clearly our own thoughts and becoming and being free from that. That is the importance of all these teachings of Krishnamurti or other teachings, is understanding ourselves and being free. Yeah. Okay, I have finished. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Modak, you can end it now, please. Thank you. Thanks to all.